Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Rodriguez. I'm the head of Blockworks Advisory, a full-stack crypto advisory firm. And today I have the pleasure of having a one-on-one conversation with Lee Fan, who is both the CTO and CAIO, Chief AI Officer of Circle. Lee, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I think Lee sits, one of the reasons why I'm really excited about this conversation, because I think Lee sits in a very unique position that potentially is one of one in the entire world. She sits right at the intersection of probably the three largest narratives or catalysts in the digital asset space. One, regulatory headwinds. Historically, regulatory headwinds become regulatory tailwinds, a la the recent passing of the Genius Act. Two, stablecoins, the killer product market fit or the killer application in the digital asset industry, as everyone knows. And three, because your title is CAIO of Circle, AI. So I think you have probably some of the most unique probably thoughts across the entire landscape of this industry from that intersection of those three narratives. But would love for you to first introduce what does it mean to be both the CTO and CAIO of Circle? What is the purview of both those different positions?
Yeah, so again, thank you for having me. It is quite a pleasure to be here. Let me explain why I have two titles. And the CTO part is relatively, I would say, easy because classic CTO, what I do is I manage all the engineers and data scientists and the tech ops and whatever to really just work closely with the product managers and the business people to deliver our product strategy and also set a long-term technical direction and resource allocation in order to deliver the business goals. So that part is pretty classic and easy. Now, CAO as a Chief AI Officer is a relatively new title. I got it early this year. As we recognize how revolution and fast the AI transformation in this industry, we recognize we need a leader who can really focus a lot of time and energy to drive the whole company transformation, not just engineer. I just want to emphasize it's not just the technical organization need to go through, every function in the organization need to go through. I used to joke, it's not just a ChatGPT, it's more about how you think of your workflow, your scope can be transformed by AI. And it's not as easy, and it's not just using tools, and you have to look at what you do, what's the problem you need to achieve, and how can AI, not today's AI, but in the future, given the trajectory, can totally change that function or scope. So it's very exciting. I'm learning with a lot of other people in the company.
Awesome, thank you. So diving into specifically USDC and just trying to become the premier, the preeminent stablecoin across a really fast-moving and diverse digital asset space. How do you scale USDC across an ever-growing number of blockchains, an ever-growing number of different virtual machines? What are the technical challenges internally that Circle faces?
Yeah, so great question, because when you talk about that much of a scaled system, there's a lot of challenges. At any time, I've been Circle more than 4 years. At any time of your work, challenges are different. Sometimes it's a security, sometimes compliance, sometimes it's reliability, sometimes it's throughput. But throughout the year, there's one theme I think maybe not people may not aware, because we build USDC and stablecoin native support many chains. Right now, we support 23 chains, and every month we're launching new chain support. And throughout the years, one of the challenges we have a relatively small team, and this group of blockchain engineers have to understand every stack of the chain. And be it the consensus protocol, it's a finality, it's the language they use, and how they handle the communication. Every chains are different, because if they are not different, there's no need, right? So now EVM chain may be relatively okay, because we learned over the time, but a non-EVM chain, every chain present a new things that our team have to learn the stack. Until we feel comfortable, understand the stack, we do not want to support that, because our reputation, our partners' reputation is on the fence. We handle the money, real money. So this is the part, it's actually everything is a new challenge. And this is also a good opportunity. I want to thank all the developers and the partners who work with us, because it takes like both sides to work harder to make it happen.
Can you peel back the onion a little bit? Like what does the internal process look like when you're trying to prioritize like choosing chain A over chain B? Like some internal, I don't know if you can share like what kind of metrics you might be like looking at, but like what does that process look like?
Yeah, so I think this is a very good question because we got asked a lot of times. I would say fundamentally go back to our root of the company. We are a platform company. We want to build a healthy and growing ecosystem. So with that in mind, we look for chains or the groups that has a long-term gain, had a long-term vision. And we look, how do we verify this? We look at how the trajectory. We look at a number of, let's say, wallets on the chain. We look at the transaction volume. We look at the trend of how developers adopt them. And we mostly, one thing that people, by the way, of course, the USDC circulation, how much USDC already bridged onto this chain, this kind of thing. But the one thing a lot of people didn't know is we also pay attention to the technical group, the developers that are supporting that chain. And we want to make sure they are very technically, I would say, savvy and capable, that can work with us, pay attention to the right things, scalability, reliability, and they are here for a long term, right? And because we want to build a long game, and we are not here just for 3 months, 6 months, a pop up, but we really, really want to build an ecosystem for a long run.
Awesome. How do you and also Circle at large think about the programmability of USDC, right? So it's like great that we can, P2P payments or B2C payments, but I think the unlock for on-chain financial rails is like the programmability of the money that we have in our self-custody or custodial wallets. So,
yeah.
And what is the kind of infrastructure that Circle's currently building that's already public, or like what are you excited about that Circle might be looking forward to support developers and like making use of the programmability of USDC?
Yeah, so one thing, frankly speaking, when I joined Circle many years ago, I do believe programmability because this is one of the unique things that a stablecoin you can differentiate. Of course, there's a few other things, but differentiate with traditional, let's say, or whatever bank or internet company build an internal database, they can achieve a pretty high performance and they can achieve like a reliability, but a programmability across the chain, across an open network, that's one of the key features of, I would say, stablecoin, and that's why we pay a lot of attention. And we also recognize, again, we are a platform company, we cannot do everything on our own, so enable the developers to be able to program, and on top of stablecoin is one of the key focus. And there's many, many things I can enumerate, like be it a USDC kit, and we launched I think it's 2 years ago, be it the CCTP that we are very excited that we launched like more than 2 years ago to enable fast transfer of the stablecoin USDC across chains. And we also recently launched the V2. So we're constantly having those features and innovation, and we also welcome a lot of input. And for example, also recently, because of the AI movement, there's a lot of people talking about some on-chain agent, and be it for identity payment, how can we incorporate that and build the tools for AI agent and for developers that want to utilize AI agent on-chain. And all those things are something we constantly thinking about. Yeah.
Awesome. If I remember correctly, 2 weeks ago, Coinbase released their State of Crypto report, and they shared that there's about 161 million stablecoin holders worldwide, and that in 2024 there was about $28 trillion of stablecoin transfer volume. It was about just under 8% of the combined, payment volume between Visa and MasterCard. What's it going to take for USDC and stablecoin transfer volume on chain at large, to surpass Visa and MasterCard? What are the infrastructure improvements that are going to be needed to 10x transfer volume on stablecoins?
Yeah, so great question. I would say even before the infrastructure, I would say what it takes for the users to recognize that there is such an innovation technology stack that you can utilize. And I think one of the things it is our like a very exciting project is to be able to let people know all the toolings. And then, of course, like you said, the core infrastructure has to be able to sustain this kind of a volume. And we are, I'm an infrastructure engineer by training, work in one of those largest internet companies. So I will say in infrastructure optimization, from whether it's from traditional Web 2 or Web 3, fundamental principle is the same. You have to look at what's the current hardware stack and be able to understand where to optimize and understand your your application on top. Whether it's on-chain, the traditional transaction, like I would say financial transactions, so trading versus a payment across border, their requirement, even though it's always talk about throughput, and fundamentally when you up the stack and look at the application need, they are different. I think one of the things is really to understand what's the application, and sometimes you have to build a general framework, and sometimes you have to customize this. It's a constant trade-off. So I cannot really pinpoint, say, one thing, but it's really a lot of things all together. Yeah.
Got it. Is there something that like you're incredibly excited about forward-looking in this, like from a stablecoin technology or like application perspective?
Yes. So I would say it's this is more of related to the second title as AI officer, because one of the things I explained is if we have a resource and a time, we want to support as many chains as possible, as many as protocols as possible, but we are limited by the tech resource we have. We are still a relatively small company compared to the other big companies. So, but the things I'm really excited is with the AI innovation, there's a lot of I would say fundamental shift underlying that will help both engineers and product managers and across the board be more productive and be able to iterate new ideas much faster, right? Now, I don't think they will replace engineer per se, but it really help us, everyone, make it more faster and more efficient. So this is where I'm excited, because with that trend, I look forward that more new ideas can be implemented and tried out quickly, and then be enabled for us to do a lot of things that we hope we can do in a short amount of time.
So double click and tell a little more. From an AI perspective, like how is Circle definitively like planning to use AI internally? Because AI is largely could probably be like the ultimate business enablement tool, but also like externally, like from a user experience perspective, like how can an AI-enabled UX be improved? Like how is Circle thinking about that?
Yeah. So I think you hit it on the nail. So because right now, in terms of AI helping the internal workflow productivity, this is pretty much a given. Everyone kind of convinced this is what we can do, and we are doing it like a really inside a company, every function. Now, how AI will enable the external product things, I will say there's a lot of potential. Right now, there's no end-to-end AI product launched yet, and there's a good reason, because current the LLM-based AI is fundamentally still statistically model-based. So it is not like a certainty, 100% certainty. I'm not saying every application have to need that, but you have to be aware of the precision it can really provide. Even 85% or 90% of precision or stability from the AI model is not good enough for most of the fintech application. So how can we build a system knowing the limitation or work with the improvement of AI, launch something that can really meet the requirement of a financial service? That's a big challenge. But I'm very hopeful, because across the board, whether it's a fraud detection, a risk assessment, customer support, or the compliance workflow, a lot of things we can enable with AI innovation. And one thing I always say is this: we don't know what we don't know, but what I can see is once the AI enable a lot of, I would say cut a lot of frictions, it can, one thing particularly exciting is it can help we iterate some of the experiment much faster. Some of our designers or product manager can vibe coding something that we can quickly internally utilize, say, okay, this may work. And a lot of times we try to utilize, let's say, we think this is the UX that people may use, but we have to decide without knowing anything internally, say, will that work or will that work? With AI, it may be possible that we can set up a very fast experimentation framework for people to try out and then truly understand and get real-time feedback to say, this is the flow that people want to use. So I really, again, there's no concrete example I can really enumerate now because there's, as I said, there's a lot of challenge to get it right, to get it precise. But I'm very excited that things were coming out very quickly. Yeah.
Great. I'm a terrible vibe coder. We're gonna probably need GPT-12 for me to actually build any like basic product in the future. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have. But Lee, thank you so much for this
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you for having me again.
Have a great day.